What's up, everyone? Eli here yet again. Got a stack of CDs, so I guess I'm doing a collection update. Pretty big stack of CDs here to show. I've really been wanting to whip these out because this stack has been in my room for like 2 months. So yeah, we'll do that. What we have playing in the background is a French doom death, kind of gothic doom death band called Wedding in Hades. So if you like what you hear, that's what that is. This is my first time listening to this album. I think it's called Elements of Disorder. I do like parts of it, and then parts of it I don't. So, yeah. Anyways, here we go. I mean, this stack is just a total mixed bag, like always. Just kind of a pretty good mixture of a lot of the things I like. Some of them, a lot of these albums I've heard before. Some of them I haven't. So, we'll just kind of start it off with a kind of American Black Death classic here. We got Black Death, Black Witchery, with the Desecrations of the Holy Kingdom. Through, of course, Nuclear War Now. Anyone that's into this kind of music is, I mean, there's literally a 100% chance that you'll be familiar with it and that you'll probably own it. That album kind of needs no introduction in its circle of albums, or bands, albums and bands. Next, we have one of the only things I like from this band. We have the debut album from the Cult, Love. What can I say? It's a great album. I kind of like the album that came after this, and I don't really anything beyond that. At least I think this is their first album. I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. Anyways, I like this album, and I like one other. Yeah, I don't remember the name of it. It's got Spirit Walker on it, I think. I haven't heard it in years and years and years and years. But anyways, I like that album, and not a lot of the others. I think you get the point. All right. This is getting close to kind of rounding out my Deicide collection. I have all but like two of their albums. Of course, not all of them are very good. We have To Hell with God. I think this album was actually decent. Came out in 2011, Century Media Records. Far from their best, but definitely not their worst. It's got some strong moments. Haven't heard this album in a long time, and I bought it randomly the other day. Saw this band live, I think it was last year. We got Crossover with DRI. This would be the album that I'm not the biggest Crossover fan, but people that are real big into that stuff will say this is kind of where they kind of left them. Like a lot of people say this album's really boring. I think it's all right. Here's a cool one. This is a band I feel is fairly underrated, and this is their debut album, and it's actually pretty hard to come by. I think it just got recently repressed, though. Got Cardiac Arrest with Morgue Mutilations. That cool Matt Putrid cover art there. Cardiac Arrest are a death metal band out of Illinois, and it's upside down, I know. They've been doing this kind of death metal for quite a while now, and they've been going strong ever since they started. They have, I don't know, like 5, 6, 7 albums, somewhere around there. They actually put out a new one this year, and I heard it's pretty kick-ass. I think Memento Mori put it out, which should mean a lot. It's a label that is definitely known for its quality. Next we have, this is an album I've been wanting this for a long time, and I was lucky to come by it for a good price. Got Necro Cultus from Mexico with I always had a hard time saying this. Encircling the Mysterious Necro Revelation. Yeah, what can I say? Death metal out of Mexico. I always kind of consider it death metal. You might be able to say Black Death, but it does have that that Mexican death metal sound. And if you know what I mean, that's a really good thing. Definitely check. If you only check one album out of all these, check that one out. A lot of you will probably know this band. I've known about them a long time, and I never really bothered to check them out. And it's an alright album. Got Necromantics, Ghost Notes, or Symphony. A symphony of wolf tones and ghost notes. They're a psychobilly band out of Denmark, I believe. They've been around a long time. They're one of the more popular bands in that genre. Next, we have the debut album and self-titled album from Blood Ceremony. This came out on Metal Blade Records and Rise Above. Blood Ceremony are a kind of like one of those occult rock slash doom bands that, you know, have been sprouting up in the last, what, 8 years or so. These guys kind of were one of the earlier ones. Came out in 2012? Yeah. I feel like this band was kind of a little bit early in that. 2012, 6 years ago. I don't know. Anyway, this album had a decent amount of hype when it came out. One of their standout trademarks is one of the people in this band plays a flute, so they got like that Jethro Tull thing going on. It's not bad. A lot of people are crazy about it. I just kind of think it's okay. Next, here's another kind of minor Century Media classic. We got Soulburn with their debut album, Feeding on Angels. This is a repress from 2009. The original, I think, came out in, what, 98, I believe. We all know, if you like death metal, you know Soulburn. They are a Dutch death metal band, basically formed members of Asphyx. Kind of cool. Came out. I don't remember Century Media doing this too often. The Black CD. But yeah, it's to me, I've always it's an Asphyx album pretty much. But I love Asphyx, so I mean, you really can't go wrong with anything they've done. Next, here's another classic I've been meaning to get for years and years and fucking years, and I finally have it, so people can stop pestering me. We got Dope Throne, Electric Wizard. Their did I say debut album? Is this their debut album? I don't think it is. It's not their debut. I think their self-titled was their debut. But anyway, it's definitely a classic. Most people consider it their finest effort. I have a hard time arguing with that, although it's not my personal favorite. It still deserves its, its place in doom metal, absolutely, and it deserves, the praise that it gets to this day. You all know I like Asia. Here's another Asia album. They have a lot of albums that I don't own, but this one is Aura. More, almost borderline stupid cover art. Roger Dean is a good artist, but some of the stuff he's done for Asia is questionable. Actually, I haven't ever heard that album. Next, we have a Portuguese kind of black metal band with a hefty dose of punk. Goat Fuck. I think this is the only thing I've ever done. Procession of Forked Tongues. I pretty much got into this band because there's a dude that's in a long-standing Portuguese black metal band that I used to listen to, and I can't remember their name. They've been around forever. They might be, they're probably one of the longest-running bands in Portugal. But their name is escaping me right now. Some of you probably know who they are. Next we have, I remember getting this band's first album back when it came out, and I thought it was alright. They've since done 2 more albums, and I thought I would check one out just for the hell of it. I got this pretty cheap. Birds of Prey with Sulfur and Semen. Relapse Records. Birds of Prey are a band who kind of mix kind of like sludge and death metal and, kind of that southern rockiness type shit. If you like that, that like southern sludge sound, you could probably dig that. I like some of it. Next we have old Shrapnel Band. I'm not into a lot of, technical type stuff, but I've always liked this album, even though it's, it's very wanky, but I mean, that's what it's based around. We got Racer X with Technical Difficulties. You might know Racer X for having Paul Gilbert, who's just, basically a guitar hero in their band, and also drummer Scott Travis, who would go on to join Judas Priest. I think he was in Racer X before he was in Priest, but I could be wrong. Let's see, when did he join Priest? I don't know. Anyways, Scott Travis is in that band, was in that band, whatever. I'm a big fan of this man, as are almost all of you, and I've never owned this particular album. I've also never really thought it was one of his best. It's decent. We have Sacred Heart from Dio. This came out in 85, I think. 85, yeah. It's not bad. It's definitely got some jammers on here, but it's far from his best work. But it's also far from being unlistenable. I've had this album for years. I have it on vinyl, I think, and I've owned it on CD several times, but managed to lose it a couple times. A lot of people don't like this album and don't like this era of the band. However, I always have. We got Technical Ecstasy by Black Sabbath. Yeah, controversial album, I guess you could say. Many people don't like it. I've liked this album since I was a kid when I got into Sabbath. I liked it from the start, and I still like it. If you haven't heard it, it's very different from what they're known for doing. It's got a lot of experimenting on it. It's got a lot of different sounds. Like I said, a lot of people consider it, a complete miss, but I don't. It's not my favorite of theirs, but I do like it a lot. Here's another album I've been kind of wanting for a long time. I can't say I've actually sought it out, but my collection has been missing it. We have the second Sanctuary album, Into the Mirror Black. It's good. It's damn good. I prefer their first album by far, but it's a good album. Back when they were signed to Epic Records, in those years when when major labels were trying to snap up metal bands and in hopes that they would be the next Metallica or whatever and sell millions of albums. 9 times out of 10 they wouldn't be, or they wouldn't sell that many albums, and then they'd be dropped like they were nothing. Sanctuary are one of those. Here's an album that I had this years ago, and I don't really remember. I remember thinking it was alright, but I ended up getting rid of it, and I saw this randomly for pretty cheap and thought I'd give it another shot. I don't think I've heard anything that came after this, 2005. This is the Mars Volta with Francis the Mute. Mars Volta are a prog rock band from the US, formed out of the ashes of At the Drive-In, a band that I never really listened much to, but I know a lot of people liked them, and those guys were pretty well known for being in that band. We got kind of an obscure split, one band that I've heard before, one band that I haven't, that being Front Beast. I've heard them. Mephisto I haven't. In league with Evil Metal. Front Beast are a black metal band, kind of a primitive, approach black metal band from Germany. And Mephisto I'm not familiar with. If you are, go ahead and let me know what you think. Was happy to get this one. I've wanted this one for a long time too. We got Order of the Ebon Hand with their second, and as far as I know, final full-length album is called 15, The Devil. This is a black metal band out of Greece. One of the many black metal bands out of Greece who put out, an album in the earlier to mid 90s and then kind of went away for a long time and then kind of made a comeback. This was when did this come out? 2000s, somewhere in the 2000s. All I know is years, even more than a decade, I think, after their first album came out, and it's pretty good. I like it. I like it almost as much as their first album, not quite as much though, but it's a good comeback for sure. We have another weird, obscure split from some obscure record label that I don't even know. 2 bands we got Infernal Hate and Lupus Nocturnus. If my memory serves me well, I remember them being 2 Mexican black metal bands. Listen to this cause of dementia and make for a pleasureful and slow death. I certainly don't want that, but I'll give it a shot. I do like me some Mexican metal. Next we have Italian one-man depressive black metal project. This guy's done some pretty cool stuff, considering it's just one dude. I mean, he's definitely made some cool tunes. We got Varden with Piercing Cold Distance. A lot of people know Varden, including myself, from being signed to Moribund Records. This is before he was in Moribund. This came out on Elegy Records. Elegy being a pretty well-known underground black metal label. Here's another kind of completist type album. I never really had planned on getting this album. I don't know, it's not a terrible album, but it's far, far, far from, this album's better work. We got No Prayer for the Dying, Iron Maiden. This is what came out in says 98, but I think that's when this was repressed. It came out in the 90s though, and 90s Maiden was not the best time for them, but whatever. I don't mind listening to it on occasion. It's, you know, it's Maiden. Even some of their worst stuff is still usually pretty listenable compared to some other bands. You gotta give them that much. Here's another album that I've owned several times over the years. I think I still have the CD lying around, but I just didn't have the case, and I gotta have the case. And it's one of my favorite albums of theirs, Sabotage, Black Sabbath. This is possibly my favorite album of the, you know, of the earlier lineup, the original lineup. It's fucking great. Got a random pickup here. I'd listened to this album once and thought it was different for me. You know, I mean, this isn't shit that I'm used to, and I haven't heard anything else from this band, but they're pretty legendary in this, you know, for this type of music. We got Autobahn, Kraftwerk. Kraftwerk are, what would you call them, electronica or something like that, from, I don't even know, 70s and beyond, something like that. Looks like this was from 74. I've only ever really listened to it once, and I found it pretty intriguing. It was definitely like nothing I'd ever heard before, so I'm looking forward to giving it another spin. This album I bought not thinking that I had any of this material, but it turned out I was wrong. I got My Dying Bride, The Vaulted Shadows, which I bought it because it has, anyways, it's got, I don't want to really go through this. It's got one of their full lengths, which I thought I didn't have, and it turns out I do, but it also has their EP, The Barghest O Whitby, on there as a bonus, which is, I guess, this serves me some good because I didn't have that EP, and I do like it. The Barghest O Whitby was an EP they did, just one song. I can't remember how long it was, somewhere in between 20 minutes and 30, half an hour, somewhere around there, 20-something minutes. And it's kind of a nod to their earlier stuff. They brought back violins and more death metal vocals and stuff like that, and it was a nice little tribute to the earlier days of the band. I liked it. I liked it when it came out, and I still think it's pretty cool. Might have noticed in one of my last videos, I've been, you know, picking up some Suicidal Tendencies albums. Here's another one, Join the Army. This one came out in '87, Caroline Records. I find this one pretty cool. Definitely a lot more metal than, you know, what they did on their first album, but I dig it. It's a fun listen. And yet another completist album. You would never buy this album unless you were a completist. And I'm not a completist, but I don't know, man. This was sitting in front of me, and I just went for it. It's not a very good album. We have Judas Priest, Demolition. Now, some of you might know that I am a big fan of Jugulator, which preceded this. And this is the same lineup. This came out in 2001, but I don't care for this one. It's hit and miss at best. It's mostly miss. I might like 5 or 10% of the material on here, but anyways, I don't care. Yeah, that's all I got for now. I've been trying to record more videos lately so I don't get way behind and not go 2 or 3 weeks without putting one up, because I do enjoy this. So anyways, I'm all done. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Cheers, guys.